Welcome to Myopia Movies, where we rewatch movies of the past to see if they stand the test of time, or see if myopia clouds even our nostalgia. This week, we're diving into 1989's Look Who's Talking, a movie where we learn about the birds and the bees from a woman who has sex twice in her life and gets pregnant both times. Starring Kirstie Alley and John Travolta and Bruce Willis as a wisecracking newborn somehow. It's a mess. But does it hold up? So, if you like this, or however you found this, thank you for coming, thank you for listening. Please rate and review wherever you get the podcast. Please tune in every week, see if you can find another episode you like. I guess if you came looking specifically for Look Who's Talking. But in the meantime, we appreciate you here. Thanks.
Welcome to Myopia Movies. This week we learned that everything you learned in health class is true. A woman has sex twice and has 2 kids. I'm your host, Nick Hoffman, and on panel we've got...
Nordstrom Nets. I live in Georgia and Reference Center Improv.
I have 2.
Alex Ewalt. What's up?
Keiko.
Atlanta author Matthew W. Quinn.
So we decided to do this movie for some reason.
Is this my movie? I mean, I feel like
This seems like your movie.
I love this movie, and I loved it as a kid, and I'm like really amped up right now about it. But I don't know if it's...
I believe... Okay, so this is our Valentine's month. We've just done Ice Pirates. I believe we were looking for romance movies, and this was on your list, and this was your choice for it. So I think that's what it was.
Oh, this was my choice for romance, yeah.
Well, I mean, you had a... So, I guess I'm looking behind the curtain. We have a very scientific process where we all meet at a sports bar and pitch movies, and I try to group them together. And we were talking about, like, for Valentine's Day, we should do a month of romantic movies, with the exception of, this is episode 498 as we're recording, so episode 500, which we'll step out and do something fancy for, which is already recorded, which was a lot of fun, which was essentially a... Well, actually, you know what? We'll keep it for the weekend. We'll keep that a surprise. But in the meantime, we put together this month, which will include this movie, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, which we've also recorded, and that was a train wreck, so good luck editing it, Nor.
You're welcome.
In the meantime, we are talking about Look Who's Talking, which is a movie that I will say I've seen at least 3 or 4 times before we recorded this. And I've seen both of the sequels, which get progressively significantly worse.
There were sequels?
Arrow
2.
Better.
Yeah, for the second one, there's a kid that's also talking.
Well, who's talking to T-O-O is
As it also.
the daughter.
There's 2.
And Look Who's Talking now is dog.
It's dogs. And Danny DeVito was one of them, I believe.
Until
It's the daughter.
until we saw this I had only seen the dog movie.
The dog one is a very strange movie because if I recall correctly, John Travolta's boss is trying to seduce him and they end up in a cabin in the woods on Christmas.
Mom and Dad had to explain to me what having an affair meant, where they were not happy. And they were not happy about it.
So, what was up in the 90s about just front and center? Because, okay, so I got this I thought this movie was Baby's Day Out.
Oh, previous episode.
I mean, also the 90s, there was Honey, I Blew Up the Baby. You know what I mean? I think
you thought this was a kid's movie.
I thought it... Is it not? It's not really. No.
When you smash cut to semen.
Kind of can be that. I remember this as a kid, and to distinctly remember certain things.
Me too. And I showed it to my kids, 5 and 7, and I was like, I don't know, like Nick texted me. He's like, yeah, let me know how that goes. Like, you show it to your kids.
We had a classic, very Norman Rockwell scout meeting beforehand, and she's like, I think I might show this to my kids. And my wife and I watched it that night, and then I texted her, but it was something like, you might not want to watch this with your kids. And she texted me the next morning, so we already watched it, and it was like...
So that's where babies come from, right?
Is that science?
Well,
science.
I believe...
Let me tell you. So we did have to have a discussion, because like as soon as the sperm popped up on the screen, my 5-year-old was like, what are those? What? And I was like, well, those are the sperm, and those are, the the part that the daddy provides to make the baby.
Oh, you do it there.
So yeah, and I feel like, okay, I'm gonna get on my soapbox, but I feel like you can definitely describe things in age appropriate terms, like to a little kid.
Fuckles.
And when they get enough information, they're like, okay, and they stop asking questions. Like so I was like, okay, that's the part that the daddy provides, to make a baby, and the egg is the part that's in the mommy's tummy. And the mommy has the egg from when she's born, and the daddy gets the baby part when he becomes an adult. And so my 7-year-old said, oh, so in 10 years, I'm going to have a baby in my tummy. So
But you got to find that a strongbow first. That's you get on the right.
he's like, so, well, and then he thought for a second, he's like, well, half of the baby. So like, yes, he's right.
He finished up. He gave the support.
No, he got it. Now I will say it's strong. It's a strong opening to start your movie with. I mean, I assume it's an ovum.
How did they do this, by the way?
I think
it looks real.
it's an ovulation because then the sperm comes later.
It looks real.
I think
The egg is sinking.
and put it in Kirstie Alley, and then watched her.
You think it was really Kirstie Alley?
Yeah, that seems like a Kirstie Alley.
I mean, to be accurate, it was that Alfred guy in Kirstie Alley. I mean, they definitely that's what happened, right?
This was
You
Bruce
think
Willis.
this was like some kind of like puppets?
okay. So the baby was 100% a puppet. The baby.
The baby, no, but
It was.
the egg looks real.
I was gonna say I think this is electron microscope stuff. I bet you they went to Berkeley and just paid for stuff and then added filters, and then some of the stuff that looks just like weird hallways. I bet you that was added later.
I don't know. I mean,
Well,
I think it's medical footage, right? Yeah, it's just
some of it, I think some of it very clearly.
what about all the lights? There's like lighting.
That's the part I think they added later, because you can just have a cell that they add color to, and then the background. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think a uterus is blue and wavy.
Looks like it was made with that crinkly, transparent paper.
That's what I'm saying is fake. I think the other stuff is actual. Like, for example, some of the sperm stuff. This sentence just came out of my mouth. Some of the sperm stuff is clearly fake, but the
The
shot.
talking is real though.
Of course. And it's Bruce Willis. And, there's times in this movie where he is fucking selling it, and sometimes here where he is just like, oh, hey, that's an egg cell. What? Or fucking penetrate that thing. And I was going to say, I think the shot of the sperm actually going in the egg is electron microscope footage. Because all of a sudden it goes from the egg cell looks like something you put on an overhead projector, like bouncing around like it's the DVD menu, and then all of a sudden it changes, and then I think
There's electricity in it. It looks like when the sperm finally connects to the egg, there's lightning.
That's not medically sound. With the lightning striking
lightning effect.
in these
when you're birthing Palpatine, though.
right.
Dermot voices the baby. Look who's talking. So how are babies?
People do, yeah.
Where do babies come from?
Turns out it's the hoo-ha.
Yeah. Well, okay, growing up.
Babies come out of the hoo-ha, so it's science.
No, so this was like, and I guess we'll get to the plot. I guess we'll get to the plot synopsis in a second.
They're like, kiss you, I'm about to burst.
It's just
Well, it's sent out to
Everybody listening to this, guess which episode this is of the recording tonight. Is this number 1 or number 2?
This is a game we play. I'm going to guess it's number 2, because they're going to be shit.
We've done this before?
Yeah.
Deja vu?
Yes.
Deja 2.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay,
You were
sure.
asking where babies come from?
Yes, where do babies come from?
Yes. So what we're
Or no, then
for kids right now
Belly
is,
button. Storks.
there is a part from the mommy's body and part from the daddy's body that get put together
Right.
inside the mommy's body, and that makes the baby. So the daddy gives a part to the mommy, and the mommy makes the baby. The mommy builds it. As I said, the mommy builds it.
So you put this like a Minecraft.
That's coconut. You stir it all up. You put the lime in the coconut, and you throw the kilo in.
Disgusting. And
when a New York City corrupt executive and his accountant are in lust with each other very much.
when the president likes, never mind.
Well, let's do plot synopsis. Who wants to do it?
I could do it.
What?
I never do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Okay, so after some very erotic medical footage, so essentially the way this starts is Kirstie Alley is an accountant running the taxes for George Segal, and he's a womanizer and flirty. After a strange scene of some hardcore medical footage, we end up being introduced to the fact that he's a scumbag. She gets pregnant right away. And the whole thing is that this is supposed to be a women can do it on their own kind of a 80s movie. And so if you've not seen this before, which I will go ahead and say I'll recommend it. It's very light. It's very funny. But this is exactly what 80s comedies are. The jokes are very predictable. You know what's coming. But long story short, he's a womanizer and a scumbag. And she ends up seeing the fact that he's hitting on, I think she's supposed to be an interior designer. She feels jealous, and her friends are like, nah, it's nothing. He's fine. But when she goes clothes shopping for maternity clothes, she sees him making out with someone. In the middle of their argument, her water breaks, and we're introduced to the other guy in this, which is John Travolta. Hey, oh God, she's leaking all over the back of my taxi vehicle. And so they drive to the hospital, at which point there's a birthing scene. And then the whole rest of the movie is kind of a will they, won't they? She kind of still considers George Segal the father, but John Travolta is endearing, charming, and in a working class way. So we have snobs versus slobs, but also can she do it on her own? Because she's had a very hard time hooking up with men. And when the end, we get a complex narrative between dating, women as independent, and is it okay to be a strong, independent woman versus having someone who's also supporting it. That's the movie in a nutshell. That's why I'm the fucking host. I nailed it.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good. When's the last time we did a plot synopsis?
Not enough.
But
like a fine spice, I'm only there when you need me to be.
Cinnamon?
Saffron. The finest.
The finest of spices.
Well, so what year did this movie come out?
89, I think.
89.
So what was
Reagan
It was the year that I was but an egg and a sperm.
No kidding. What a pretty woman.
Oh, you're a Ute.
Actually, I guess that was 88.
You were a mere Ute.
But no footage that we could put up on the social panel.
Unless this is me. Unless this footage.
Did you like Bruce Willis? Was he what was your voice had? If you were to have a narrative as a baby, who do you think you sounded like?
This film has already established that the egg is the voice of the mother and the sperm is the voice of the father, and once combined, they have their own union.
With our powers combined,
So-
We become Bruce Willis.
I mean, I will say, Bruce here, again, I told you sometimes he was selling it, he's not. He's the charm. If Lady Travolta is a charm.
To specify, Bruce Willis is just a voice. There's no physicality.
No, he's also.
See, it was that in utero puppet baby was not based on Bruce Willis's appearance in any way. I don't believe. I don't miss.
Could have been at this point.
Was he bald yet? Yeah.
I think at this point it was a piece. So,
Shaved his head pretty early. So.
and you know what? Good on him, because some men should just give it up. Not me though. Luxurious.
You have a nice set of hair.
Thank you. I have a nice set of hair.
Yeah.
That's what it says. You had
3 hairs,
and
that's a set.
and you described this. It is the Reed Richards look.
It's a set.
4.
At least 3.
Yes, 3. Top. If you get 2 sunlights in the back, it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
You ready for that?
dude. I mean, again, now I apologize for those of you with the hair impaired. We are a very hair-rich podcast. Jeremy Rigel has not been here in a while, and I feel bad about that. But
Hair impaired.
he's a bald man.
Bald.
Yeah. Which again, he's a good-looking bald man, strong jawline, everything. Not me though. Rich, luxurious. Ewald, hair to his nipples.
The most-
He's a powerful man.
In fact,
Put your shirt on.
sorry, I wanted to illustrate where along the nipple journey my hair was.
Turn around.
I apologize.
Oh God, how can I?
Like, what was that? Who's it?
Okay, so let's turn this back. Oh, yeah, wait just a second.
Yes.
Let's talk about the movie.
Kirstie Alley.
Kirstie.
Kirstie Alley.
It is cursed.
Oh, didn't she? Oh,
She did recently. She did.
she died.
She
Yeah.
did.
She did. It was like COVID.
In the last few years.
Yo.
I thought she had cancer.
She had a rough few years.
Did she?
Oh,
Yeah.
I was curious about this too because she was like an icon.
Yep.
Like she did like
Well,
Movies like this.
a sex figure. Like people like idolized her.
I had a math teacher obsessed with her.
This movie does not seem like it really fits. It seems like it came
Colon cancer.
after that. So I was just kind of curious.
Yeah.
wait, was she a sex? Was this before? This is after Cheers.
Was it?
She's carrying the ruts. Second year.
Is that when she was like?
She not in what she was wearing. It.
What movie am I thinking
I
of?
don't know.
Who's talking?
Where she was like, no, before
Wrath of Khan. She was in Wrath of Khan.
she was like,
Summer School?
Yeah, she.
like a hot girl, like a.
No, I'm not arguing with you. She's
Girl.
Previous episode,
I
Wrath
thought
of
it was
Khan.
Wayne's World. I thought she was like a love interest in Wayne's World.
She's not in Wayne's
Or number two.
Nah, she ain't. Look, it was someone completely different.
Maybe she wasn't. I don't know.
He's in Summer School, Shoot to Kill. Like, and again, I'm not arguing that she's not a gorgeous woman. She was a Scientologist, which is, I think, how her and Travolta got in the same film.
Yo, that makes sense.
Yeah. So the reason I bring you in, Keiko, is no, you're the one who's been pregnant before.
Oh, yeah.
So I will ask you pregnancy questions. Very invasive
Through
one.
all the questions.
No, I mean, because
In the previous episode that we recorded tonight, I asked all of you lots of testicle bread questions. I think this is only
Very
no, I mean, I was gonna ask because only so she is like doing her math, which is what I assume accountants do all the time, and she takes her top off and she's wearing a polka dot bra, as one does. But then he goes, "If I don't kiss you, I'm going to explode." And then smash cut to semen just wiggling around. Her spermy boys are wiggling around. But then after we see a spermy boy voiced by Bruce Willis enter the egg, smash cut to a turlet, which is
Crashed out to some puke.
at the morning sickness.
No, so actually, I was jealous of her because I was sick for half of my pregnancies, which is not common. Like normally, it's common for like the
You just throw up a lot.
I threw up. I threw up every day. I threw up every day. I got so good at throwing up that I could just like throw up and just be totally normal because I threw up so often.
rally. That's
In
gangster.
fact, when I was pregnant with my second kid,
Yeah.
my first son, who was a toddler at the time, like a little baby, 1-year-old walking but not really talking that much yet, he would pretend to throw up. Like he would go to the toilet and he would be like, "Ugh, ugh,
That's so sweet.
it's mommy," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's mommy. Great, good job." Like, so I was sick for half of my pregnancy.
What's 9 divided by 2?
And so, for all of you out there in TV land, who
It's like
ask women,
49 months.
who ask women, so when are you going to have kids? This is when you just tell you to go fuck yourself. Yes, it's not. And
It's so different for everybody. That's like my experience. I feel like is not common. I don't think that level of sickness is normal. But yeah, I was absolutely sick. I threw up in the morning every day and felt like crap for the rest of the day. So
John Travolta.
we're not even like halfway there.
John Travolta?
I mean, the thing about the movie is there's really not like
No, it's like I would say it's a rom-com, but it's a very strange rom-com in that way. But I will say,
Well, there's a third act misunderstanding.
good talk. I just wanted to add that the first part of it, of her being pregnant and dealing with her friends and stuff, and like, that's actually very funny. Like, she does a good job, and
And her mother.
her mother, like, trying to understand. Like, I do like the dad who's just an accountant and never has a line.
Nope.
And he's just like
Says-
typing. Go ahead.
No, never says anything. He's just the accessory dad who reads accounting quarterlies.
Well, and I do like that It's a standard trope in the 80s. And so again, if you want to understand the Reagan, like go Reagan 80s, watch this, because her whole thing is that she can't fall in love. It has to be a romance for certain reasons, right? And so it can't just be someone she enjoys being around. It has to be blank. And at the end, the whole thing is that the mother and the father are like very good couple because they get along. But early on, it turns out, she just liked how he looked in the uniform. They fell in love, or they banged, or whatever. She was born, and then they made it work, which is just kind of how relationships work. If you have a first date that's fine and doesn't go great, but it's fine, go after it. You know, like I'm technically a grade older than my wife, but we're 3 months apart in age, just because I was the youngest in my grade and she was slightly older. And at first I asked her out, it didn't work out. And then later on we went out later. You adjust, you grow. I've been with her for 20 years. Our relationship has changed. I'm a different person. You essentially remarry your spouse every 5 years or so, because you're a different person every 5 years or so. And so her looking for a perfect person, and then, hey, John Travolta's around the guy. Look, you're like, well, he'll never be a perfect person because he's a working class hero, and she's a very wealthy person, and Drew Seagal has a moderate erection, and he's wealthy.
Yeah, she has a whole nightmare sequence where they have like 8 kids living in an apartment and they're dumpster diving.
Well, and that's a good bit, because every time she dates is as though we're watching The Dead Zone, and she touches someone and sees the future, which I don't know, because whenever I saw my wife, I was just like, she's pretty great. I should be with her. I'm sure she saw me and saw Nightmare. And then thanks to just wearing her down, she ended up marrying me. But I don't know. I assume people who actually have foresight look at relationships like,
I definitely got Savannah by Stockholm Syndrome. Like,
that's right. Hey, you want to do something? Hey, you want to do something? Which is just like, fine.
well, but no, just reverting back, I do want to talk about Molly, the main character's, yes, the movie. This love,
Not ecstasy, like Molly.
this love square that she's in. So she's obviously in love with Alberto. What does he do? He's a governor, or
He's some sort of business person. She does his taxes.
It's business. We're
business. And so he's married with 2 kids, essentially. And then I guess he has
He's a philanderer.
right.
Yeah.
And then he's going through a midlife crisis, or as he calls it, a selfish phase.
Which is very funny.
She thinks he's going to leave his wife for her, and then she catches him with another woman.
Yes, who then gets caught by, I believe, his wife, and so he ends up being separated from her, though never divorced, and it's a lot. But that 80s nonsense making fun of therapy is it's funny, but it's also very much making fun of
therapy. It was like okay.
The therapist told him he's going through a phase,
And like fire.
that's the making fun of therapy thing, which, again, in the world of 1-800-HELP-ME, like, please do not make fun of a Pharisee. It's the only thing holding millennials together. Yeah.
I've actually not done therapy. Kind of want to try it.
You're so... I have a psychiatrist, not a psychologist, so I get meds for my pain. For you today.
I'd rather go to a psychologist than a therapist, because, like, for me personally, like, I like therapy. I do group therapy, because I'm just getting ready for marriage. I do personal therapy, and I do group therapy. I do a lot of therapy, but I'd rather see a psychiatrist because I want them to unravel my brain.
No, you're thinking psychologist. Psychologists do few meds.
Oh, I need that too.
No, that's what I have. Because the thing is, I don't want anyone to outrank me. Being equal, that's fine. But as a doctor, I don't want a therapist to tell me what to do.
I just want someone to call me out on my bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, as I get lied. I was like, if I may, yes, you're full of bullshit. Thank you. So yeah.
So that would be $300.
Exactly, and you gotta pay them.
Yeah, no, we got 52.5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done therapy too.
I've never done it. I wouldn't do it. I feel like a therapist would be scared of me.
I'd scared my
Like a therapist
therapist.
could handle me.
I think if they've done it for any amount of time, they've seen many things more harrowing than you.
So throughout the whole movie, the fact of the matter is, she's supposed to be like, I don't know.
She's trying. She's trying very hard.
Yeah, when Mikey, the baby, is born, she's this whole speech about how she's going to be a better person for him.
Yeah.
Janet,
She calls herself a hoe.
well, yeah, she frankly, kind of is an aspiring home wrecker at first.
Well,
I both agree and disagree with you because we get the feeling that she's such a workaholic that this is the first real relationship she's had, right?
She's in a little bit of a selfish era herself.
Yeah.
well, but also, guys, speaking of like therapists and stuff like that, the father is in a position of power over her. It is her supervisor. She is trying her hardest to make it. She wants to feel important. She wants to feel valuable. So basically, he like takes advantage of her, tricks her. She goes along with it, thinking that that's going to better her life, and it ends up not doing it. So she's doing the best she can.
Oh, we're not saying she's bad. She's just, no. Again, she called herself a hoe.
And it's good casting because he's older and charming. And
I want to call him Harry too. I don't know why. I just want to call him Harry. I know his name is Albert, but he's a Harry to me.
well, this got the Harry's from Daniel Stern, right?
I don't know. There's something about him. I don't know what it is.
Do you think there's some sort of subconscious Henry VIII thing going on with him because he's references having 2 daughters and then he has a son?
I don't think that's where I went, but maybe that's where you went.
I mean, this is, I don't know. I mean, whenever we talk about your fiction, you talk about historical situations, so maybe you're making that stretch, but I don't think it's wrong. He's in a position of power and he's hooking up with, and in this movie, we talk about at least 4 women, right? So,
My thing about this movie is I feel like this is a weird movie. Like,
no kidding.
I feel like, and I feel like
Bruce Willis as a baby.
he's as a baby
As a talking baby.
in utero, a talking baby in utero. I feel like this is so out of left field. Like, where did this come from? How did this?
Well, apparently it was a really good idea. Didn't it make some money or did it some Razzies and fantastic money?
They had like a tiny budget and made a good bit of money, from what I've
But
remember.
that's John Travolta, right? And Kirstie Alley. It has
Sure,
to be
they're big stars.
just the cast.
Also, if I may, just because I don't know where we are in the movie exactly, but we heard OBGYN. Oh, okay. So, let me back up. One of my favorite shows of all time is The
Smoking Man.
X-Files. It's The X-Files. And the day what? The X-Files. I for me. And her OBGYN is Scully's father. And the person who gives her drugs when she's in the hospital is a cigarette smoking man.
Smoking Man. Also
Ooh.
from Amazon's Upload, which have any of you guys watched Upload?
Trailers.
It's really good.
Oh, really?
You should
Is
really.
it about the afterlife?
Sort of. It's about people who choose to upload their consciousness into like a server after they die. So it's kind of like the afterlife, but it's basically like a resort that is just people's consciousness living in a computer.
What's the good place?
And the Smoking Man is in it.
Oh, no kidding. He's alive.
He's in it. So
Watch The Good Place. If you've not seen The Good Place.
and Upload.
Yes.
The Dead Place is one of those shows that it's on my list to watch.
It's so good.
It's so good. Michael Shore, one of the best.
Ooh, Ted Danson, also from Cheers. Also, Kirstie Alley.
Oh, what's the show on Netflix right now he's in?
Oh, it's a new one. I don't know.
I have out there. It's very good. Okay.
Man inside
The Inside Man. Yes.
He infiltrates. There's someone who steals something in an old folks' home. He goes into the old folks' home as the inside. Anyway.
Good places.
So we should mention this. While she's pregnant, there is the most terrifying dummy doll thing of all time that's talking with Bruce Willis's voice. And as she's going through what I imagine is what to expect when you're expecting, she's describing like, at this point, the baby will have thumbs. At this point, the baby will have blah. And the baby's like, oh, look at these things. I got 2 of them. And then like at week, whatever it is, week 12, the baby will start developing its gender. It goes, why are we growing a 3rd arm down there? I can't put that in my mouth. And you're just like, oh, Bruce Willis, sucking your own penis. Well done. Moving on.
My kids found that to be hilarious.
That's funny. So I laughed out loud at that just because it was Bruce Willis voicing a weird in utero puppet saying,
It is imagine. I mean,
It's over. He's not going to act ever again, and it's a shame because of moments like this. Because he's very charming when he wants to be. This is very fun.
he was doing some work at a lot of points in this movie, and I wonder, I think they must have just given him some of the footage of people interacting, and he didn't have a lot to go on. He's like, hey, give me that bottle. Hey, you gonna give me that? You gonna give me that thing? Put that white stuff on my butt. Put the powder in my butt.
Do you think so?
Maybe some of that, and then some of it was scripted. I was trying to figure it out.
I feel like he watched. I feel like they gave him the recordings, and he did it based on that. Because, that interaction of, oh, you're gonna put some of that. Oh, just let me. I'll do it.
Right.
It matched.
And there's
so
not
well.
much that a baby's gonna say. Like Kirstie Alley and John Travolta are having dialogue, and the baby's saying a bunch of pretty asinine stuff.
And this
which is
4-year-old
funny.
is pretending to be like 18 months old or whatever that is.
That kid was old. That was another question I had.
No, I think the baby was 3.
Yeah, for a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
It's notable.
so this is a question I have just in Hollywood in general, which infants.
Was they age shaming that child?
No, so like, and I guess by the time, I don't know when this is released, but like, who casts these babies? Like,
So it's a funny question you ask because my wife was saying the same thing. Just
Did you guys look it up?
no, there are 4 of them.
Yeah.
Credited, and my wife was judging which one was the better actor because they looked very different after about a bit.
Meaning she looked up the pictures, using the names of the actors, like, oh, wait, I remember that
She
one.
could tell them apart in a way that I could not.
Yeah, there's no...
And she's like,
good.
this kid is better than that.
Okay, that's a mother fan.
No, well, just because
The
like
West.
some of them were emoting much more, and some of them had much more like Colbert years than the others. And again, like it's funny because usually you do twins or triplets or whatever you can, like Full House, friend of the show. But like just in this case, you couldn't do that, so then really 4 kids, and some of them worked very well, and just because you're asking the kids to do the right thing, and the end of the movie we'll talk about, which is a very strange bit with old Abe Vigoda. But like the one where Travolta's babysitting and he's playing with the kid, and then the kid falls asleep on him. And I'm sure there's a moment where you saw whichever kid falling asleep on your husband, and it's the sweetest thing in the world, right?
Yeah.
And like when I saw like that first time when I was like doing the dishes or whatever, and the baby and Candace both fell asleep on the couch. Sweetest thing on the planet. And Travolta and that whichever child that was pulled it off incredibly well. Him in his pink shirt and his black tie, like he's hey guys, you remember what I was gonna be in Pulp Fiction? Like it's just so close. And Pulp Fiction is 2 years from now, I know that. But like he's so close to being the biggest thing on the planet again. And here he's not. And it's just like, oh, he's so good. And again, Kirstie Alley's supposed to be the stern woman who softens over time. So without him, there's no movie.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the 2 of them, when he's, hey, you know what I can do? I can fly a plane.
how much of that was it? I have
Happens, it becomes they're in love, and you get it. And I believe it. I believe that they're in love. Sorry, I was softer for these. And
No, I mean, like, the scene where in the hospital and they just...
you shouldn't be recording this.
If you're not going to record this, oh my God, no. The scene,
I do this every time.
the scene where in the hospital and they just have, like, close-ups of babies and stuff that look like they were just born, like, a week ago. Like, how do parents, like, sign a waiver when she's, like, 8 months pregnant, or just
First of all, yes, because you're so broke at that point, you need money.
They could have also filmed in a hospital too and said, hey, whoever's here, we're
okay, that'll
helping you and what I
Still have to give permission.
yeah,
Right.
like yeah, they would have to sign up for it, but I feel like that kind of hospital scene might be like, hey, we have an opportunity to film with Kirstie Alley, and they'd be like, yeah, sure, put my baby on, sir. I mean, camera for.
Go ahead.
They also could have not had one of the newborn babies be like a non-specifically like a South Asian stereotype talking about reincarnation. Just wanted to throw that in there. It's 1989, but it's still in 1989.
So technically that was anti-racial jokes.
So is pluralism objectively true in this world? That might explain why it's an adult man in a baby's body.
Yes, it is. No question.
Yeah, he wasn't ready for you, like you said. I wasn't ready. He's like he did that quickly.
Like he's Bruce Willis, and he's
Totally
like
honest.
2 months old.
If there were any kind of like, metaphysical belief that I were to agree with, I think reincarnation is the coolest one.
Yeah, definitely the coolest.
Like, I love that idea.
Frankly, if I'm 90 years old and I die, I just hope to sleep for a bit. Like, it seems like a lot to live another 4,000 years after living 90 years and being in pain for a while. But, you don't know. Showing up for Thanksgiving would be pretty cool every year. Yeah, no, with that. I would say, too,
I want the Futurama thing. I just want to float in.
just be
Nixon had the jar.
just show up and be like, hey, you guys want to know what Dora thinks?
Did Michael Jackson
Die? He
cryogenically freeze himself?
did not.
Ted Williams did.
So they thought Walt Disney.
I'm sure Michael Jackson did.
No, he went to sleep and then come up.
Woohoo.
He's also mentioned in his film as well.
Sure.
He might his paid, but he might not star.
Yeah, and John Travolta says rock star, which is okay, yeah. I think you can say Michael Jackson's a rock star in 1989.
I want to talk about John Travolta
Oh my gosh.
because he's worth mentioning, right?
Previous episodes, Battlefield Earth. And
So curious episode, Michael.
that's right.
Oh, you guys did Michael? I didn't.
So there was Grease, obviously, which at the time, not at the time, but he was mainly known for the stage play adaptation and then to movie, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't want to come back to Grease 2. And then he did Saturday Night Fever,
Great movie, hard to watch.
And then from there, he was on a TV show, wasn't he?
It was also the sequel to Saturday Night Fever.
Welcome back, Colin.
Welcome back, Connor.
Way back in the day.
Welcome back.
And so, where was this period in his life where he's just like, fuck?
So, after all...
Yeah. Right. Isn't man? So, yeah. This baby is Zeno. How's that didn't work?
So it's after all of what you described, actually. This is before Quentin Tarantino kind of saves his career.
Did his career need saving?
Yeah, because all of what you described happened decades before.
Did this movie save his career?
It did.
Shut the
This was big. This was a big
Well, because this was big, but he won his due.
See, I don't know, guys, because I'm watching this from Alabama. So I'm like, I feel like when you're in Alabama, you're like, oh, this must be the bottom of the barrel. Like, well, what I'm getting was
You deserve better. You deserve better.
Okay, so, Keiko, to your point,
Very much so.
this is kind of the bottom of the barrel for him, but it's then resurrects his career because he's third billed in this.
yeah.
It's Kirstie Alley, then George Segal, and then him.
George Segal is yours on the
I feel like I would disagree.
Or Bruce Willis.
No, I'm talking about in the actual headliner. Probably Willis is also above him, and so you just needed a handsome guy, and he was cheap, and he's charismatic and handsome, but he was cheap,
Yeah.
and so like Bruce Willis got to sit down the entire time. He's never on set, and he probably made more money than Travolta. And then 2 years later is Pulp Fiction, where he gets nominated for awards and is a good movie. And I'm not saying this isn't a good movie, but Pulp Fiction is an award movie, and this is a movie that people watch. This is a big budget movie that will make even more budget.
I am telling you, we talk sometimes about, like, Nick, you talk about the kind of movie that's on TV that pulls you in, whatever. And when we texted about this, I told you Chris was walking, doing whatever, cleaning the kitchen, whatever, and he came and he sat down when this movie was on and watched it and laughed with us. And this is something that is special. Like, yes, this movie is cheesy. Yes, this movie is stupid. It catches people and it's funny. I don't know.
I'll give credit to a podcast I listen to called Boo Hate Movies and give the credit. I believe it's Steve Sadak who said this is an ass magnet movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
Ass
Magnet.
So you're like flicking the channels on TV and then you're just like, oh, I've got to watch more of this, right? Like, it's the kind of thing that you see. And again, this is more of a thing from our generation when we were younger and you're just flicking the channels and all of a sudden you see like, a Bond movie. You're like, I'm going to watch 20 minutes of this. This is the kind of thing that if it was on, this is a TNT movie. If there's ever been a TNT movie, you're flipping the channels. You're just like, I'll put this on for a bit.
Funny.
And then all of a sudden you're like, do I need to cancel my plans this afternoon? Like, am I still going to make the dinner tonight?
No, I'm going to watch
I'm going to watch the rest of this movie.
2 and 3.
That's right. You know
What a day.
If all the guys, oh no, is it Goldeneye? I guess I might tell my parents I'm not feeling like going through dinner tonight.
So I guess I'm trying to piece where we're not.
I don't know where we are.
But
I don't know, like,
well, just notable scenes for me at least.
they pooped out a baby.
She pooped out a baby. Anyways.
That is actually
And everyone assumes that John Travolta is the dad because he's the one who brought her to the hospital. He's there and she labors.
And I will just add one caveat here. His old man is suffering from dementia. And so he wants to use her place just to say that he's a resident because he actually lives in Long Island, I believe. And if he actually lives in Manhattan, he can get him into his grandpa into like a better old folks home. That's what it is. And so I could ask you this in a second, but to me, this feels more like, well, it's twofold. I believe he does care about his grandpa, but there's a lot of ways he can do this. So to me, it feels like George Costanza and Seinfeld leaving the woman's house so he can come back is an excuse to come back. And so he just needs an excuse to come back to her plays. And I do like the power dynamic between them because he's kind of a schlub. Like, I mean, it's the 80s, so we called him a Guido, but he's just like this kind of, oh God, I just, I can get whatever you want for free, because oh God, I know how to get free lunches. I just pretend I work at the place and I go. And there's a cab driver. And she's very upper crust type. It's funny because her parents aren't that, but she's worked her way up. And so the fact that he's working class feels very back to her.
Does this feel like New York?
I commented it feels like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
Dissatisfied white-collar professional finds love with a blue-collar schmo.
Yeah.
There's no flannel and no Christmas.
But I will say,
They're not trying to save a bed and breakfast, but, all the other elements.
So
They're trying to save his grandpa.
Oh, there you go.
Keiko and I talked about this. Well, we all had it to an extent, but I would just say I miss these movies for that reason. Because the difference is there's a good cast here. The problem with a lot of Hallmark and Lifetime movies is that they don't pay money for actual actors and actresses. This they do, and it makes the difference. Like, the problem with Netflix is that Netflix does not pay for anything, and so much of those movies are crap.
And then Netflix cancels them too fast.
Yeah, but even with movies, like, they're one and done, and that's kind of the shame of all this. I like this kind of movies, these middle of the road, these not middle class, but like middle price bracket movies. I like that. Rom-coms do not exist in theaters anymore. I wish movies like this did exist in theaters.
But they fail. What is like Sydney Sweeney's? Well, I don't even know what it was called. Like the one that just came out.
Just go with that. A lot of it's super hot, but like you don't have to keep talking about.
They're relegated to streamers. The rom-coms are relegated to streaming.
Right, actors and actresses.
And the rom-coms, I feel like it's we have such like a nostalgia thing. I feel like people save the rom-coms for Christmas movies. So
Well, and I honestly blame Matthew McConaughey for this because, like, I believe me, first when he did, it became.
have you guys heard about his
Shut
tuna
the
salad?
It's amazing. It was.
You tried it?
No, yeah, it was. He was on a podcast with Two Bears, One Code.
He looks his cute.
And Twitter was. And so basically, it was Bert Kreischer and who's the other guy? Bert Kreischer and Tom. Not Segal.
Segura. Tom Segura.
And basically, he gives this recipe of tuna salad where it's like it's essentially every ingredient, but his secret ingredient is frozen peas and wasabi, and then he eats it the next day, which as most
And he puts
do.
jalapenos, kettle cooked chips in it.
Sounds good. You got to have a little bit of something in there.
Real crunch.
Well, yeah, you got to have beef.
I don't know how I feel about putting chips into a tuna salad and leaving it.
Well, you just put it on the sandwich and you eat it immediately, right?
That's what I've
That's
said.
not what he said.
He said if he puts it, it's differently so it's soggy. It's
kind of.
maybe just like a joint.
I feel like I need to try it. Just
What it is. Anyways, going back to the rom-com fatigue. My favorite rom-com is Hitch. Hitch is my favorite rom-com. Love Hitch. Will Smith and Kevin James.
I saw it in theaters.
Great movie.
would probably love it though. I do love. I love Will Smith.
And we go into the McConaughey era with like Failure to Launch. There was this one not Ticking. It was
By the way, everything you're mentioning is a future episode.
yeah. The Ghost of Chris Girlfriend's Past.
Girlfriend's
And so like it got to the point where and like you had movies like The Lake House where they wanted to be serious but funny and cutesy and stuff. And I think the last good rom-com movie that came out from what I remember is The Proposal with Ryan Reynolds and excuse me,
J-Lo.
The Proposal? No. This is Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds. Sandra Bullock and with Betty White.
Are you talking about the one with Owen Wilson and J-Lo where she's like a singer? Is that what one you're terrible? You're thinking of? Keiko.
No.
American Dreams with a Z.
No.
Showgirls
What's the proposal?
on TNT.
I don't know.
No, if you see The Proposal is actually a good heart.
So at one point, he kidnaps the babies.
Oh yeah, I forgot we're talking about with this thing. Yes, movie. Sorry, yeah, we talk about.
We're talking about the one that people are now paying to listen to.
So essentially,
It's a real dumbass move.
You mentioned before they were switching the addresses so he can take his dad to a nursing home. But essentially, they make out a deal to where she wouldn't call the cops, and to where he would be babysit so she can find a dad. And so I guess she falls asleep trying to feed him. And then I guess him being the nice person, but also only knowing her for about, I don't know, like a day, kidnaps a baby, and they go to like an air hangar, and then she wakes up.
Dude, I do. There's a funny joke in that, and again, it's stupid, but I laughed when there was a woman at the counter, like saying like what jobs he's got. There's like, hey, look at those. He's talking about it. It's like lunch. The baby. Like, how to do it sizes. What size is it?
Yeah, my 5-year-old said, "Why is he looking at that?" And I was like, "What?" And I had to explain, like
Wasn't too long ago for you.
he's thinking about milk.
No, and then again, like boob jokes are fire.
In my defense, when we watched, when my 5-year-old was like 2 years old, maybe almost 3, we watched Nacho Libre.
Sure.
And the whole time he was going, milk.
Because of
Looking-
Jack Black's
Yeah, look-
man boobs.
Yes. And I was like, well, I mean,
Leche.
it's about,
Leche.
it's about,
Leche libre.
yeah. That was what he was signing. He couldn't say a lot of words yet, but he was like, no.
I'm not gonna say.
Sorry, Jack.
I'm not gonna say that when my daughters were weaning, they didn't poke other female friends in the boobs, saying like, like because those things happen and everyone laughs. We have a friend for a member of the show, Madison, who's curvy, and she's like, "Bye."
ample. We will say.
And again, it's just one of those things. Wife was trying to wean, also an ample woman, and she goes, but those, and she's just like, I'm gonna go somewhere else because I cannot be a part of this conversation.
I can say that in my own defense, while not being super ample, I was very providing for my kids.
Because the size doesn't matter. But sometimes when you're looking at Thanksgiving dinner, you're like, I'd like
You want the big turkey.
you want the turkey, man.
Another pregnancy question.
Sure, let's first.
Deep for that dream.
That triggered some question.
Did you like save your milk and freeze it and sell it?
No, I donated it.
Yeah, I don't use for it was so good for you.
Yeah, I donated it, and I actually ended up donating it through. It's a group called Human Milk for Human Babies.
Lord.
And it's for like people who want breast milk but can't produce it or get it or whatever. And I ended up donating it to a lesbian couple.
Nice.
Twice.
That's just so.
Yeah, so
It is.
I mean, not intentionally, but it just happened to be who I donated to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And they had a baby.
One of them had triplets.
Oh wow! I was just assuming because some people like bodybuilders drink that shit, or
No, it was for babies.
people use it for like, eczema. It's true.
You can take baths.
it is this. But her previous sentence was a lesbian couple with a baby, and so you were asked to follow up, which is an important follow up.
Yeah, sort of baby.
No, Candace gave one to a woman who just had problems lactating.
Yep.
And that's something that also happens. And she felt very self-righteous because her mother was one of the lactation consultants who was very rigid until her daughter couldn't do it. And
So I guess the kidnapping of the baby happens, but he comes back.
It's like accidental kidnapping because he
That's
doesn't.
really nice.
He's just some jamoke. He's trying to do a good thing.
Yes, yeah, he doesn't really.
doesn't know any better and stuff. Yeah, and then
She beats him up when he gets back.
Well, I think it's just more so. I mean, like he's been there every step of the way. He was there to take him to the hospital when that baby happened. He brought the purse back essentially, and he likes the baby itself. And some of these like jabronis that she goes on a date with, like I hate how she was able, and he made a point in this, like she was using the baby as an excuse because obviously she was in love with old money rich bags that had like Albert, who was in a weird love triangle, but like my favorite actually is that date scene with the dude with the toupee, you know what I mean, and just like gives the bad advice, hey, you know, like she hates it.
She hates when somebody pays
And just talk about shit.
That's very like sitcom, like teenager sabotaging another teenage love competitor's date.
Yeah. And then he tries to like, he rips the toupee off him. He's embarrassed and stuff. And he's just like, that's how you look sexy. And then, but again, I that particular date, like,
He spends the whole time talking about his colon cancer.
yeah,
Maybe it was gallstones he thought was colon cancer.
that's a good part. And honestly, that does remind me of, I guess I'm gonna out myself out here. So in college, there was a girl I was trying to talk to, and I was so nervous that I was just like, okay, I gotta make her laugh. You know what I mean? And I talked about one of my most embarrassing stories. And I don't know if I can share that with you all here, but I guess here we are. I told the moment that I first chartered.
There's a club involved.
And I don't know why, because like in my head, like, oh man, all my friends love this.
Yeah, we actually are.
Very funny.
Know that.
Oh, I was like, I've told this before. Okay. Wow, I guess it's a good story. Yeah. And so I just imagine with that our situation and seating on it. I guess it wasn't as dramatic as I thought since I told it already. But anyways, but I can just I feel her pain in hearing these stories and stuff. It wasn't until like a friend told me, he's like, don't ever say stupid thing.
that guy did it on 3.
At least you told it to us.
I guess I did. It's out in the masses. So I charted in 2013 was a wild year for me.
You have to talk about her bad dates.
She grading zeros.
Yeah, she goes out with a bunch of cads who are Karens to the waiter.
One is a Karen to the waiter. One's just a loser who is complaining about how his spark is dirty. And then there's the one where Travolta gets the baby to fall asleep on her.
That's true. The few part, yeah.
Because he's like, you know what, accountant? I know you won't be back after 9:30 because he's a little...
What time did they get back?
What was interesting about that is he said he had his own date to go on,
Which was her, of course.
but he didn't.
You didn't.
I think it was.
It was Mike. You was hanging out with Mikey.
Then I finally passed the stove. For him. He's talking about body problems, which again, like, nothing a lady likes more than you started on a podcast. Yeah.
So I guess at this time, she's been avoiding Albert. And I guess her boss catches wind of it. He's like,
Yeah, the boss is such a jerk in this one. He's like getting on her. You're not being productive enough. He's like, yo, I made up all the work. I made this one maternity leave. Yeah, I mean, he's so jerky to her.
A lot of men would be intimidated by the fact that you pay for everything. He's a fucker. Like, I love all these bald losers. I do like the baby pulling the pick up its head. And Travolta's great. Yeah.
I don't think he was supposed to write for this movie, to be honest with you. I know, like, I'll jump in. No, because, like, after hearing Bruce Willis's voice, and then I see Travolta, I'm like, nah.
You know, to switch the roles.
I honestly, like, I low-key wanted to, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. He's not the leading man for me, you know?
I don't know. The problem with Bruce for me is that he's too polished. I like the schlubby. Bruce Willis is polished. Well, he's just a beefcake. Like, you have to just remember, this is the year after Die Hard. It's literally
Crazy to me.
as Die Hard is 88.
Die Hard. He did this.
No, I think you're thinking about it wrong. It makes sense that this is the year after Die Hard because he just sits in a chair and talks and makes $12 million.
Paid a lot of money to spend a few hours doing a lot of pretty unremarkable voiceover work.
Because Travolta does the legwork. He's the one who's actually romancing and again, I'm a sucker whenever Travolta dances. And like that kitchen scene where she's dancing for herself and singing while she's serving breakfast. And then he just shows up because again, we don't really talk about it because it makes no sense. But he just has a key and he just fucking walks into her apartment.
He just stays there.
But he
Center.
But he is so fucking smooth. He walks in and he's dancing with her. And the second he does his little Travolta shimmy, how did I love that guy? Like, he is charming as fuck in this movie.
Were you pregnant?
I mean, kinda.
Well, she says that he calls him a loser, which I don't know.
He is. But at the same time, she's a dom and he's so...
Well, you got to think about he's a captain driver. She's a CPA, an accountant, and things. So
She's the breadwinner.
yeah, and
That's what the juries have to tell us.
he wants to be a pilot. He's a love it.
You said John Travolta eventually become the power. Maybe he's already.
That is what she doesn't know. And that's the one, like, my one criticism of the movie is she isn't willing to like
He has no interest in anything in his life.
No.
until
Until the last 10 minutes.
he has some kind of like status. Then she likes him. And,
Like the pilot thing.
yeah.
Well, but I will say, the scene where Seagal shows up and he kicks him into the hallway is a scene that should matter more in this movie. It's a good scene. It's a very good scene. It matters in our hearts because I like the movie.
It's a literal class versus class.
It's an Ops versus Slavs scene.
Yeah.
I just wish it mattered more to the rest of the movie. It's never mentioned again. But it is the better scene here because this is where we actually have two good actors. They're battling it out. And again, Kirstie Alley's fine in this, but she's supposed to be very rigid and soften slowly. So she doesn't have a lot of emotional range because that's the point of her character. So we have the two guys who have emotional investment here. They kick each other's ass. It's good. I almost wish one of her sassy office friends were there, or the mom was there, just so we have another character who shows emotion or sees this, because she's not supposed to. And she does it real well. It's just,
Yeah, that should have it at a restaurant. In a better version of this movie, like Travolta knocks Alfred's ass out, and like Albert's and Kirstie Alley's Molly is like, "Oh, I'm aghast that you did that, but now we're gonna go home and we're really gonna get it on."
You want to?
No, it should be close to the farce.
You want to?
Where like she's walking by the restaurant and she's on the date with George Segal or something, and then
We're rewriting this thing.
yeah. What's the show with John Ritter, and it's like the two women who live with him.
Oh, Three's Company.
It is a Three's Company scene is what it should be, where she's at dinner with George Segal. She throws wine in her face. He stands up in an aggressive way, and Travolta fights him off there instead.
Yeah, that should have been the big scene of the movie instead of the kid running down the street.
And again, because the whole thing is not defending her honor, it's more like, hey, respect her. Which happens, but it happens without her there. Which, maybe, in some ways you should have thought about really better, because then it's
Because she doesn't know until she gets home and she says, what?
You guys beat the crap out of each other?
Well, also, I guess we're forgetting the lie that she told. So she was embarrassed that she is pregnant, so she's telling everyone she got artificial insemination. In which, how much was that in the 90s?
$1 billion. It also is it's good Latin use because it's in semen and aided, which means also inside. So we've got in semen inside.
Say that again?
Good.
Oh,
Worry about
so okay, sure. When I grow up, I'll learn. And so I guess John Travolta this entire time thinks she's gotten these treatments, and here comes the daddy biologically, and I mean, he just adds more fuel to things.
No, and that's true, because it is important to the movie that it is revealed to him that she lied to him. That's important.
Yeah. Well, I mean, eye for an eye. He lied about everything else, but no, that's our business. And he's the babysitter or cab driver that took her to the hospital.
Wow, I guess I see a point.
Well, and I'm going to herself as phased because I'm asking each of my podcast. So, ball bins there. Anyway, I don't know how you want to end this, but like, there's a couple things I just want to touch on briefly. But I like the little kids talking to each other.
Yeah.
Which again, I give it credit, and it's stupid, but I give it credit because it's kind of the first. This is before Rugrats. This is before Baby's Day Out.
Baby geniuses.
The kids. Like, and then all of them saw this and thought, you know what? If that's $1 billion idea, this is a $500 million idea, and they ripped it off. Which again, do you think the movies benefit? This works here.
They just do a little bit of it.
Yes.
Like, it's really not a lot. It's not a huge part of the movie.
Yes. And again, it's the problem with the masterpiece, the Academy Award winning movie that is Air Bud.
Which one? There's like 20 of them now.
That's the problem. Because the first one is subtle with that shit.
Spooky Buddies is awesome.
There's no rules.
Santa Buddies and Santa Buddies 2 through 6.
How many space buddies are there?
But that's the problem. Like, you have a good idea, and this one is subtle with that. And then everyone's also, like, but what if those kids were also spies? And you're just like, and then John Boyd, who's now bankrupt and his daughter doesn't talk to him. You're like, well, but he could be in 4 of those movies because he's in all of them.
Did you know there's no rule to a scene where a dog cannot play basketball?
Could you imagine if it was a giraffe? Are there rules about giraffes playing basketball?
I don't know if the giraffe could fit in the doorway.
This is a Clone High joke, but it's hidden one Clone High.
One thing that I say I will really enjoy is just like, I guess the rom-com aspects of this, and how the boy he's trying to find a daddy.
Dude, him saying, I think James should be my dad, broke my heart for 2 reasons. First of all, it's very sweet. And also, never in his life has John Travolta ever been a James. He's been a Jimmy.
Yeah.
He's been a Jim. He's been a, hey, Jim Boy. But he's never once been a James. He's so pumped.
At some point in this movie, the senile grandpa thinks that that she is his girlfriend. Like, no wonder Jimmy loves you, or something like that.
Yes, it's a Jimmy. 100% is a Jimmy.
Well, because we're deeping and set up the climax of the.
Okay, we should just get to the climax because who's listening to this anymore? Look who's talking.
That's sure me out of the way. Store data, we got to it. They got to. He did.
So Abe Vigoda in the old folks' home has been. If he's having a hard time settling because he's got dementia, he's looking for his wife, which is very sad. But there's a bunch of shit going on because Travolta has a very strict diet for him. He's allowed to have a candy bar once a day, and they pay off an orderly to do it, give him a candy bar once a day, because the sugar fucks with his medicine, essentially. So he's only once a day. But the guy who took the money is a guy from apparently Eastern Europe who only knows how to say okay, which is a joke.
No problem. Okay.
That's exactly a joke from 1988. But whatever. Essentially, the guy's having a breakdown, and so they call, and because they've been using Kirstie Alley's place as the residence in Manhattan to prove he's a resident of Manhattan, they call Kirstie Alley. And to show that she has character development and they're actually in a relationship, she shows up without asking any questions.
And says he's her husband.
Which is a very sweet scene. This is a good scene. This is where she actually gets to act because, and again, she's good this whole movie, but she's supposed to be a stiff, again, if this was 1994, we'd call her a bitch. But no, it's just, that's how the character girl dog. In the 80s, she's supposed to be a tough woman who doesn't need no man. It's 9 to 5, but without the humor. She's supposed to be stiff. But she shows up without question, and this is supposed to be the heartwarming scene, and it works. She talks everyone down. She brings her son, and Abe Vigoda is left with the son. Everyone's supposed to be okay, but in a 1989 move, the black guy fails them all and walks off. And so we have this scene where the kid does the baby's day out with like it's a John Hughes movie, which it all of a sudden becomes, but it's not supposed to be, and it feels very weird.
So the orderly, the guy who knows he has dementia, just leaves.
He just
Like, he said, "Hey, are you good with him?" Directly to Abe Vigoda,
who's looking at the pictures of you.
he's like, "Get out of here! Don't pictures."
Surely just bitch you an hour ago. Nah, he's fucked.
Yeah, nice. That was a sort of a weird little, people forgetting things just happened.
You know what should have happened, which is such an easy fix? A literal emergency. Like a blue code where someone is having a heart attack and he literally has to leave. But instead he just kind of fucking wanders off because we have two black characters in this movie and one of them has to suck.
I'm gonna say we have if you gave us another hour in this room, we would punch this thing up to where it's like a generationally good rom-com, like blows When Harry Met Sally out of the water. We would fucking make this. That was
no, it goes when Harry.
He does all of that. Well,
we
did better.
How dare you? How dare you define When Harry Met Sally? That was my favorite rom-com.
We did, I think,
Previous episode.
the problem is we've done almost 500 episodes at this point, guys. We've done a lot of this. God help me. Anyway, at this point, the kid, I believe, dressed like Mario with a red shirt and blue overall, is just wandering on the road. I do like that he gets in a car after starts driving it, because that's one of the first things we see when Travolta kidnaps him. He learns how to drive, but you press this thing, and you turn the wheel.
Which I thought like he was going to drive a car. But did he drive a car? Or I missed that?
No, man, he gets it in my car that's on the back of the tow truck. It was during that. But he should literally drive a car. Yeah. Stuff some thieves. I mean, it's the holiday season. So I'm just thinking of
It's previous episode, Baby's Day Out, where a baby foils a criminal gang.
Welcome to Myopia Movies. This week we learned that everything you learned at in health class is true. A woman has sex twice and has 2 kids. I'm your host, Nick Hoffman, and on panel we've got
Nordstrom Nets. I live in Georgia and reference and improv.
I have 2.
Alex Ewalt, what's up?
Keiko.
Atlanta author Matthew W. Quinn.
So we decided to do this movie for some reason.
Is this my movie? I mean, I feel like
This seems like your movie.
I love this movie, and I loved it as a kid, and I'm like really, 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 really amped up right now about it. But I don't know if it's.
I believe. Okay, so this is our Valentine's month. We've just done Ice Pirates. I believe we were looking for romance movies, and this was on your list, and this was your choice for it. So I think that's what it was.
Oh, this was my choice for romance. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you had a. So I guess I'm looking behind the curtain. We have a very scientific process where we all meet at a sports bar and pitch movies, and I try to group them together. And we were talking about, like, for Valentine's Day, we should do a month of romantic movies, with the exception of, this is episode 498 as we're recording, so episode 500, which we'll step out and do something fancy for, which is already recorded, which was a lot of fun, which was essentially a, well, actually, you know what? We'll keep it for the weekend. We'll keep that a surprise. But in the meantime, we put together this month, which will include this movie, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, which we've also recorded, and that was a train wreck, so good luck editing it, Nor.
You're welcome.
In the meantime, we are talking about Look Who's Talking, which is a movie that I will say I've seen at least 3 or 4 times before we recorded this. And I've seen both of the sequels, which get progressively significantly worse.
There were sequels?
Arrow
2.
Yeah, for the second one, there's a kid that's also talking.
Well, who's talking to T-O-O is
As it also.
the daughter.
There's 2.
And look who's talking now is dog.
It's dogs. And Danny DeVito was one of them, I believe.
Until
It's the daughter.
until we saw this, I had only seen the dog movie.
The dog one is a very strange movie because if I recall correctly, John Travolta's boss is trying to seduce him, and they end up in a cabin in the woods on Christmas.
Mom and Dad had to explain to me what having an affair meant, where they were not happy. And they were not happy about it.
So, what was up in the 90s about just front and center? Because, okay, so I got this I thought this movie was Baby's Day Out.
Oh,
Previous episode.
I mean, also the 90s, there was Honey, I Blew Up the Baby. You know what I mean? I think you
You thought this was a kid's movie.
I thought it. Is it not? It's not.
Really, no.
when you smash cut to semen.
Kind of can be that. I remember this as a kid, and to distinctly remember certain things.
Me too. And I showed it to my kids, 5 and 7, and I was like, I don't know, like Nick texted me. He's like, yeah, let me know how that goes. Like, I mean, you show it to your kids.
We had a classic, very Norman Rockwell scout meeting beforehand, and she's like, I think I might show this to my kids. And my wife and I watched it that night, and then I texted her, but it was something like, you might not want to watch this with your kids. And she texted me the next morning, so we already watched it, and it was like,
So that's where babies come from, right?
is that science?
Well,
That's science.
I believe.
Let me tell you. So we did have to have a discussion because, like as soon as the sperm popped up on the screen, my 5-year-old was like, "What are those? What?" And I was like, "Well, those are the sperm, and those are, you know, the part that the daddy provides to make the baby."
Oh, you do it there.
So yeah, and I feel like, okay, I'm gonna get on my soapbox, but I feel like you can definitely describe things in age appropriate terms, like to a little kid.
Fackles.
And when they get enough information, they're like, okay. And they stop asking questions. Like, so I was like, okay, that's the part that the daddy provides, you know, to make a baby. And the egg is the part that's in the mommy's tummy. And the mommy has the egg from when she's born. And the daddy gets the baby part when he becomes an adult. And so my 7-year-old said, oh, so in 10 years, I'm going to have a baby in my tummy. So,
But you got to find that a strongbow first. That's how you get on the right.
he's like, so, well, and then he thought for a second, he's like, well, half of the baby. So, like, yes, he's right.
No, he got it. Now, I will say, it's strong. It's a strong opening to start your movie with. I mean, I assume it's an ovum.
How did they do this, by the way?
I think
it looks real.
it's an ovulation because then the sperm comes later.
It looks real.
I think
The egg is sinking.
and put it in Kirstie Alley, and then watched her.
You think it was really Kirstie Alley?
Yeah, that seems like a Kirstie Alley.
I mean, to be accurate, it was that Alfred guy in Kirstie Alley. I mean, they definitely that's what happened, right?
This was
You
Bruce
think
Willis.
this was like some kind of like puppets.
Okay, so the baby was 100% a puppet. The baby,
The baby, no, but the egg looks real.
I was going to say, I think this is electron microscope stuff. I bet you they went to Berkeley and just paid for stuff and then added filters. And then some of the stuff that looks just like weird hallways, I bet you that was added later.
I don't know. I mean,
Well, I think it's medical footage, right? It's just
powered. So I think some of it very clearly.
what about like lights? There's like lighting.
That's the part I think they added later, because you can just have cell that they add color to, and then the background. Like, I don't think a uterus is blue and wavy.
Looks like it was made with that crinkly, transparent paper.
That's what I'm saying is fake. I think the other stuff is actual. Like, for example, some of the sperm stuff. This sentence just came out of my mouth. Some of the sperm stuff is clearly fake, but the shot,
talking is real though.
of course, and it's Bruce Willis, and there's times in this movie where he is fucking selling it, and sometimes here where he is just like, oh hey, that's an egg cell. What? Or fucking penetrate that thing. And I was gonna say, I think the shot of the sperm actually going in the egg is electron microscope footage, because all of a sudden it goes from the egg cell looks like something you put on an overhead projector, like bouncing around like it's the DVD menu, and then all of a sudden it changes, and then I think
there's electricity in it. It looks like when the sperm finally connects to the egg, there's lightning.
That's not medically sound. With the lightning striking
effect
in these
like you're birthing Palpatine though.
Right.
I don't know.
Dermot voices the baby. Look who's talking. So how are babies?
Most people do, yeah.
Where do babies come from?
Turns out it's the hoo-ha.
Well, okay, growing up.
Babies come out of the hoo-ha, so it's science.
No, so this was like, and I guess we'll get to the plot. Sure. I guess we'll get to the plot synopsis in a second.
But like, kiss you, I'm about to burst.
It's just people. It's not. Just be smiles, which is very motivating.
Everybody listening to this, guess which episode this is of the recording tonight. Is this number 1 or number 2?
This is a game we play.
Myopia Movies is a podcast production of Dude Letter Podcasting and is produced by Nick Hoffman. It is edited by Nerd Trinette and Daniel Sudis and is hosted by Nick Hoffman, with production assistance by Matthew Quinn, Daniel Sudis, and Nerd Trinette. The theme song is Surf Shimmy by Kevin MacLeod from incomptech.com. Licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 4 license, Creative Commons /licenses by /4.0. Thanks.